Hello. Welcome to the Square Base Podcast.
No!
Let's go! Welcome to the Square Base Podcast, where two men, one from England and one from not America, it's called Canada, talk about Warhammer the Old World. As of yet unreleased, but this is the podcast that will lead you to the old world and will journey through it with you. Join us, hold our hands on what will become an amazing journey of friends, fellowship, and sometimes rolling 66 to do Purple Sun. It's exciting. I'm joined by my Canadian co-host, Mr. Val Heffelfinger. Hello, Val. How are you?
That's me on the production. on the it was a good bit. It was a good bit, Rob. I did it totally on purpose.
On purpose.
Yes. Welcome back. We're 2 weeks in a row. We were getting bi-weekly, but we were just so energized from our last episode that here we are again.
A lot of people were very excited about last episode. Very loads of lovely comments in the YouTube, and also everyone who does the podcast review. Thank you for those 5 stars. Really appreciate that. Means
People
a lot
do that
to us.
still?
Yeah, you can do that. That's the whole thing.
Well, 5-star that up.
Yeah.
Right on the naked butt of the Squarebase pod.
Spotify, which we're on as well. Any of those things, if you'd like to listen to us in podcast form, it's available, and you can review us on there. But I think obviously, YouTube's kind of become the default setting for lots of kind of people to respond because it's so easy to do. It's much harder to respond in any other way.
Lord knows I find it easy. A little too easy. Got into a little bit of a very long-winded back. I got triggered, Rob, by a YouTube comment just yesterday.
Oh no! What happened?
Well, there was a quote former GW sales manager who came on, and he left a longish comment.
Okay.
But it was a lot of the same old tropes I felt. Not to discredit this person, but a lot of the similar tropes of Warhammer Fantasy was a failure. No one wanted to buy it. Therefore, Old World will fail. And this makes...
Can I just throw that out there? What a terrible store manager. Like, imagine being
he was...
none of my products are good. None of these. Or you want to buy these? These suck. Yeah? Like, no one's playing this. It is awful.
I don't know why I can't move this product. It's terrible.
However, look at my Black Templar tattoos. Yeah? Not a fan, just a keen observer of fashion.
Catch us on Kick. But the so no, actually he worked at head office. He actually did independent retailers. And so he was talking about how when he worked there like it's the same old, like, I don't know, like Abaddon Black sold more than the entire fantasy line or whatever the line is.
Yeah.
And so I wrote, and it was long, so I responded with long because I can do that because ADHD. And then at the end of that, I did an all caps. You come at me with a block of text. You don't know who you're messing with if you're gonna step like that, which I thought was clearly funny. And then he thought I wasn't being funny. He thought I was being serious.
Oh,
which is the second time this has happened to me on the internet.
He's definitely American. Okay, all right.
The second time this has happened.
Midwest American 40K player, right? We've started to really identify this person.
And then so he responded. He's like, "Well, clearly you want brevity." And I was like, "No, that's not what I want. I want this to be as long as humanly possible. This is all I care about, and I'm responding to you on a show that's been posted for 5 days. So, like, yes, I want long answers." And then he said, I only sold for the game for 8 years. It worked for the company, but what do I know? Which that just set me right off. And I responded again, and I haven't seen a reply to the reply. Oh. But maybe he has done the right internet thing, which is to be like, this person's crazy, I'm gonna move on. Or maybe we get a little further back and forth here.
Well, let's just put the nail in the coffin really quickly, just for everyone at home, just real quick. Warhammer Fantasy Battle was changed for two different reasons. Number one, because GW lost a court case specifically and needed to protect their IP, and because their head of IP, Alan Merritt, is mental. Definitely a psychopath, maybe a sociopath. Yeah, it's very important for you to know. Yeah. Now, in no way are we suggesting high on drugs. Yeah, but also maybe. Right? Could be, right? And then the reason it didn't sell well is because at that time, the company literally hated its customers. Unlike now, where they hate their customers, but they talk to their customers. They, at that point,
they
hated
text back.
They text back. But, like, they text back, fuck off. But... But at that point, they hated their customers and didn't even reply to them. You'd walk in and be like, I fancy playing a game. They'd be like, play a game in this store. Are you out of your fucking mind? Yeah? Like, oh, by the way...
Where the fuck... What is this called? Games Workshop? What the fuck is wrong with you?
I bought
play a game in here.
You know how your company sells this book called Tamrakhan, and also there are miniatures from there? Yeah? I'd like to play it here. How about you die? How about you die right now in front of me is how I feel. So, like, it feels like them changing to, what's up, guys? Maybe you want to buy some of our stuff? Is a real change, and maybe it's helped.
Refreshing.
Yeah. So there you go. That's kind of, those are the three main reasons, sorry. The Warhammer Fantasy Battle was changed and didn't do well.
I wanted to, if I could, there was actually an aha I also had in the course of this verbal diarrhea I was having, text-based diarrhea, which was like, he was like, when he was selling, and he said he went up until, he said he left just before the end times. And the main part of my point was that, like, when they actually started releasing stuff, anecdotally, I've heard that it sold well. So that, like, in the last year or so of Fantasy, I've heard from store managers and players, like, the things picked up. People were excited. You can hear it in the podcast. Everyone gets hopeful. Again, it's one of the most crushingly.
You've been like a history kind of deep diver. Like I'm like a perma stuck in 2015.
I'm like a Warhammer anthropologist at this point. I just like sift through the layers and list. But you can hear them, and like they like suddenly there were like shows about, like, what do you want to see in 9th edition, and like there was hope, right? Because before that, they were told to go fuck themselves. And the game just, there's like, I said this on the last show, but like the first book after the release in June of 2010, the first book was March of 2011. It was Orcs, and there were no new models with it, which is wild. The Tomb Kings came out immediately after, and there was a lot of cool stuff with that. But like, anyway, so my point was, he's like, it was only 10 to 15% of sales. And my immediate thought was, and this is something that I hadn't had before, which was, I wonder what total percentage of releases that GW was putting out there were actually fantasy. Because I would bet, if we like went back and counted, and please God, don't respond to me, this commenter, because I will go back and count. I bet that like fantasy was like 10 to 20% of all the new releases that they were doing, because they had Lord of the Rings, they had 40K, they had other games and things like that too, but mostly Space Marines, I'm sure. So I would bet that there just wasn't new stuff, and like GW's sales model is really front loaded on new releases. And if there are no new releases, like, they also force their retailers to carry like their core games, right? So like, if you carry 40K, I don't think you can't carry I think you have to carry AOS.
Yeah, I think you do. Yeah.
So like, if they were not releasing anything for fantasy, you had retailers who had half their shelf space dedicated to a game they essentially weren't supporting, and of course all of them would be pissed. Anyway, I thought that was kind of interesting. So I would bet that it's just like directly correlated to the amount of stuff you release for GW. GW is like inelastic, right? Like, as much as they release, people will just hoover up.
Yeah. Like,
that's an awful sound. I'm sorry, I'm never doing that again.
I was in a local hobby store recently, and they kind of said to me, it's like, oh, what do you think of the new releases? And I was kind of talking about the Age of Sigmar ones, and then I was like, oh my God, how boring are the 40K ones? Like, just some Marines or something. And they looked shocked. They were like, what the fuck are you talking about? I was like, they're so wildly dull. No one wants those. Like it's going to be a real hard thing that you've got to get those in and try to sell them. They were like, we're sold out. Everyone has, like, you can't get them, Rob. They're sold out. I was like, what? Like, they just look like the other guys. They're the same guys. And they were like, sold out in their droves. And I was like, what the fuck am I hearing? So yeah, you are right. I've described Games Workshop before as a gacha company. If you're familiar with gacha games,
Please educate me.
they're effectively loot boxes. Like a lot of mobile games are gacha games where
Okay.
so like they're not quite a loot box. Well, they're kind of weirdly a loot box because you get sold the rules and the models at the same time, and you don't really know what those rules are or how they really work, and also, so like, I feel like it's almost kind of like a gacha company in many ways. But anyway, that's kind of where I'm at. But anyway, it doesn't matter. Anyway, Warhammer Fantasy Battle's dead. Or is it? Great question.
It's not.
World. It's not. Old World coming up. All right, so should we... Sorry about coughing there.
Oh, yeah. Warhammer Face Battle dead, question mark.
Question mark. What? All right, well, we should get into the news, because what have you been doing? You've been doing a lot of communicating, I think, is kind of the news. So let's talk about that.
Been out there chopping it up, getting the GT going. I don't know if we want to talk about that in its own specific place. I did get this guy in the mail, who I will never use, but
gosh,
look at that guy. Yeah, I just needed him.
So my question to you is, obviously, if they put Nagash into the old world, having looked at what's been on offer so far, are we getting new Games Workshop Nagash? People fairly popular, or are we getting the old guy
clown hat?
Yeah, we get clown hat Nagash. What's the situation?
Come on, let's do it. Let's get clown hat Nagash. From now on, I'm rooting for them to just never bring back the good models. Just only give me the derp. Actually, don't do it. Please don't do that. I don't want to put that in the universe. Well, Nagash is like, I don't know. I'm not enough of a lore guy to know what his existential state is in this period, but he's like dead but not dead. Like default Nagash.
So, as I understand it, because obviously, just quick recap for everyone at home. Val, new setting for the old world is going to be
in the Great War Against Chaos, about 500 years before the end times.
There you go. But I think we've been told it's 100 years. Is it 100 years, not 30 years? I think it's 100 years before the Battle of Prague. So BBP. Battle Before Prague.
Yep. Before Battle of Prague. Yes. I don't know if they've said in the decades before the Battle of Prague is, I think, the wording they used on their setting dev diary. We're due for a dev diary, by the way, Warcom. Someone let that developer out of his cage so he can type something up for us. It's been a little while.
Yeah.
But yeah, so I think in the decades before. So is that 20 years? Is that 100 years? We'll see. But there's so many things that happen. 100 years before the Battle of Prague is actually the Vampire Wars, which seems like would have been a really cool thing to start with, against Manfred and all that shit. That's when that all goes down. The worst novel series.
But vampires aren't. But vampires aren't in the
exactly.
core.
That was a little subtle dig.
Oh, sorry.
So maybe they go back in time to Manfred, but whatever. 1999 on the Imperial calendar is when the meteor hits Mordheim, I'm pretty sure. And then just a little bit before that, I want to say 1900 or 1800 is the last time Nagash appears, I think, before the end times come. So he does pop up, but it's fairly before the time of the three emperors. So he would be
which Nagash. So I know where Nagash is at this point. Then, so Nagash has been defeated and is dead. But Arkan the Black is scouring the lands, which is culminating in the end times where he does achieve this goal, scouring the lands for the artifacts of Nagash to reconstitute all of his parts, and then
put old Humpty Dumpty back together again.
Yeah, just put him all back together. Like a couple of my English cohorts in the UK are trying to do with the British Empire.
Aha!
Yeah, exactly. It's going about as well at this point in history as Arkan's planned, but I know that's where he is at the moment, I think.
Okay. Well, so he's in bits, but maybe in Nagashazar. There's like a black pyramid that I think his pieces live in. Maybe. Anyway.
I think they're separated around. I think he got kind of like, I think he got
cast to the four corners of the.
Yeah.
Okay.
Reference.
Oh, Edward the Longshanks, you devil!
How dare you?
Freedom. I have a number of jokes I'd like to follow that up with, but anything Mel Gibson says is a violation of T's and C's.
Yeah. He's not square-bassed. Hashtag square-bassed.
Square-bassed. So yeah, there's a whole big digression. Nagash probably not in the game, aside from hopefully covered by that blanket promise that all of your models will have rules. So maybe he'll have some stuff. He is comical in his eighth ed rule. Sorry, his end times rules are like hilarious and very powerful. So it'd be fun to trot him out maybe once in eighth edition. We'll see. Also, I just think he's cool as hell. Like, I mean, there's maybe not like there's no single better upgrade to like a model that already existed than Clown Hat to this guy, is there?
Clown Hat to that guy.
Like what else got like that much cooler?
That's a great question. It's a great question. Archeon went from horse. I mean, Archeon was very cool on horse anyway. So
yeah,
Archeon,
that's the Napoleon model. Yeah,
that was already great. So that wasn't a problem. That's a great question. What do you get? Marathi got pretty good.
You know, actually, one that's probably pretty good is Gorgers. The new models that were on that, those guys are brutal.
Have you seen saber tusks?
Yeah, they just like saber-toothed tigers. They're all right, I guess.
No, the current saber tusks. No, road copies. We are rating glow ups. Old world glow ups. That's like Nagash.
That's a whole other show.
Yeah, that's a whole show we'll do. We'll do that next week. Or like maybe we can get a guest appearance. Nurgle Matthew, thanks for resubscribing.
Nurgle Matt. Now Nurgle Matt broke my heart. I thought he was gonna make it for Square Bass GT, and then I was like over the moon. But now he says he might make a guest appearance. He says he might do a road trip up, which I understand. It's American Thanksgiving. See, this is how you know I'm not American. I put a tournament on American Thanksgiving weekend and thought it would work.
Thanks, Tobias, for a gift subscription to Rogue Hobbies. Thank you. Appreciate you. Well, okay. So, I mean, we did kind of blow the lead there. So let's circle back, or let's get back to the square bast.
Let's square back.
Let's square
this circle.
Let's square back. Okay. You have made a pretty massive decision to do with the old world, Warhammer Fantasy, and square bases. Tell me all about it.
Well, I've decided to run an influencer wankfest / fantasy battles tournament in beautiful downtown Welland, Ontario.
Let's go.
At the Mini War Gaming headquarters, global HQ, everybody. World headquarters of Mini War Gaming, where the minis game war.
Also known as the fuck bunker.
Is that what it's known as?
Yeah, but chat,
do they watch this show?
Chat, tell me whether or not chat think it's called that. They won't stop calling it that.
Well, it is equipped with some lovely bunk beds, and you can join the 8 Mile High Club if you like. Again, the bunker. Yes, it's called the Mini Wargaming Bunker, and it's a pretty awesome game space. And they throw it in as like a nice little bonus if you rent a room. You can use the game space. So I rented all the rooms, bottom out.
Perfect.
And because it's also essentially run like an Airbnb. You can go to Mini Wargaming Bunker on Google and you'll find it. You can book rooms there. And if you book the room, you get basically, I think they just leave for the weekend, toss you the keys, and are like, all right, don't mess up anything. So yeah, you get to just have like this sick gaming hall that you can just play games in,
See,
which
now
I think is
I'm
like the
kind of
best
obsessed
deal
with
in the world.
this. I'm obsessed with this because you and me spoke about this last night, and I was like, "What is the What's the general business?" But so I'm recording like a YouTube video, like a bat rep, like this brand new army has just come out. I've just learned all the rules, and I'm like, "Yeah, okay." So there's fours to hit, threes. Wait one second. Let me just go check 2 people in. Okay, I'll be back in a minute. Just like go over, check him in. Towels. Any dietary requirements? Are you here for breakfast? Okay, great. All right, thank you. Walk back. Record, carry on, because that is some work ethic I respect. That is quality.
I mean, this is good. This is going to add a whole new layer to the tournament review. But I'm just going to guess that they don't have fresh towels. I don't know. Like the price is right that I could definitely bring my own towels and be quite pleased with it. Also, Mini Wargaming Josh has been the guy on point, whom you're referencing, and he's been really wonderful helping me get it set up.
Can we get some love for Josh in the chat? Let's go, Mini Wargaming Josh.
As much as I have slagged old Mini Wargaming over the years, the experience so far has been really awesome. And also, as I like to half joke, they are probably the biggest employer of my mom's hometown. So I also love them for that. Good old rusty belt Welland at this point. So.
Yeah, a lot of people trying to stay in Welland, Ontario.
Not a lot of picket lines left in Welland, Ontario.
Okay.
No, my grandfather was he was a machinist at a pipe mill. They used to make big steel pipes there, and there's various steel related ancillary industries, and those have all gone.
Okay, but I bet there's some absolutely smashing gentrified cafe shops around there, though.
Now, I don't know. Maybe post-COVID, maybe they had like a bunch of people like, haha, I'm gonna leave the city. Maybe that happened. It would have been probably one of the cheaper places to buy a place or live in if you had a job. That'd probably be. It's important to have a job, Rob.
I've tried every day. No one will hire me, so I have to do this instead. I've got to.
So I'm down in the content mines.
We're technically in the content mines and the goblin mines, but there we go.
Goblin mines.
So you've decided. Thank you, Tobias, in the chat. Love you tons. So we're going to. Well, spoiler. So you're gonna mini wargaming bunker. You're gonna organize a Warhammer Fantasy Battle tournament, an old world tournament. What's the situation?
Heck yeah. Well, I mean, part of me was hoping up until recently that this might be an old world event, but we're going to have to super spoilers, maybe save that for Easter 2020, whatever. So I was kind of hopeful, but when it looks like that's not going to happen this year, I really just wanted to get a fantasy event going. I went to like 140K RTT, and I really miss events. But I don't miss 40K. I try to love it, but it's just it's not moving the old needle. No bustle in the hedgerow, you know.
I know what you mean.
So just got to put up or shut up. And I was like, screw it. Let's run a tournament. And I invited everyone I could think of that I've ever mentioned fantasy to, and somehow almost all of them have said yes, including people from all over the friggin' world, Rob.
Okay, all over the world. Okay, so who have you got come in? Who have you got come in? Where are they coming from?
Adam Camilleri, Australia.
Wow, that's huge news. He's an Australian. Loves 40K.
Do you know where Australia is, Rob? It is not near Welland, Ontario.
It's at the edge of the flat Earth.
There are 5 guys who live in New Brunswick, which is about as far east as you can get in Canada before you're in the ocean, have rented a van and are already playing practice games. And they are going to drive 15 hours to come play at the Square Base GT.
Wow.
I've got some other fantasy 8th edition fantasy related YouTube content creators that I'm working on. I don't know. Maybe we'll see. Maybe
Mr.
we'll
Malorian.
see.
Don't.
Actually, you know what? He's Canadian.
I'd fucking cry if Mr. Malorian was there. Yeah, cry. Lord Tremendous, incredible. What about Striking Scorpion 360 or whatever his name was? I forgot his name.
Was he a fantasy guy? Striking Scorpion? I always remember him as a very bad.
No, is he? No, not that guy. Is he the racist guy? Not that guy.
Not that. But just
Hashtag square based.
square based.
No, there was someone 360, or I can't remember.
Oh, Twice Bit and 360.
Twice Bit and 360.
I think they're both Canadians from Alberta. Now that you mention it.
Come on, man.
Okay, I'm sure they can be. I'm sure they could be gotten. The person who's proven to be the biggest white whale of all of this is Steve the Mountain, who has been carrying the torch, playing fantasy games on the internet for the whole time, and I have been unable to get any sort of direct contact with the Mountain in order to. So perhaps I must be like Moses. I must ascend the mountain and confer with him and get him to come play in this.
Do you know where he's based? You should just, 80s movie jukebox outside.
He's down the hall from Mini Wargaming Josh, but I don't think that, I think they're starting to get that the hype train of this event is about to blow the friggin' doors off their global headquarters. They don't know what's coming because they say Warhammer World is in Nottingham, but I'm saying it's in Welland, Ontario on November 24th through 26th. That is where the Warhammer World is going to be, and it's sick. And you know what? Leading this whole crew, also Ridvan, so Scary is coming from Scarred Cast.
Okay, that's okay.
Well, he's a mini wargaming creator.
He is.
Hey,
he
saved my life. Ridvan saved my life at the European Team Championship. I was drowning, and the only person who looked over and cared was that man, and he showed me kindness in perhaps the lowest moment I've ever experienced. So, he's coming to my tournament. I'm so excited to have him. But I mean, the real headline here, from Nottingham, United Kingdom, Roberto Symes and his intern.
I really thought you would big it up like it was going to be me, and then say Luis instead.
Well, I can't do that to you.
Dude,
I can't
appreciate that. Yeah.
I mean, you can make that joke. I can't make that joke. That's this different tone, it's different tone.
Different tone. So yeah,
but she's not even playing. She's not playing. Actually, there's some cool stuff. She's not playing, but there's some cool stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But Rob is coming, and are you playing?
I'm playing.
Rob's playing. Rob is playing.
I've already been sending you 8th edition lists.
I mean, you're a little bit behind some of the other keeners in the class, Rob. You did just go into your email and scroll back to 2015 and find the last list that you submitted.
Well, I reckon that guy was more on it than this guy. So I was like, that guy.
That's fair.
That guy knows what's up. This guy does not remember, because if you don't know, I was a very active Warhammer Fantasy Battle 8th edition player. Very active.
6-day skills, buddy.
Yeah, I would play 2 to 3 times a week. I attended multiple GTs for the last 2 years of Warhammer Fantasy Battles, multiple. So pretty good. I did okay at some events as well. I never won a Warhammer Fantasy Battle event, but I ended up starting to podium and stuff towards the end of it, which I don't think is actually that bad if you consider how mature that game system is. At that point,
so fascinating.
It was a mature community, and I don't mean being older, as in they just all done a million reps. And I was also playing in England, so there's a lot of ETC players, etc., not wearing their shoes and cheating viciously. So,
although as we just mentioned, just from anthropological level, it was an interesting time that I've been observing, because the whole thing got turned upside down by there's this deluge of books in 2014, and then the end times in 14 and 15. So the other thing is, you came in during the only time the meta was kind of moving around a little bit. But you're right, people were really good at Warhammer, which is why I find I'm a lot of my friends Dustin Henshaw, Stutter Scrub, one of my favorite 40K podcasts, also local Canadian. Dusty's coming out. He messaged me. He's like, I'm just coming to have a good time. I'm not gonna have a really good list or anything. And I'm like, dude, shut the hell up. Bring a list. You don't want to come up here, down here, wherever we are relative to your geographic location. You don't want to come to the event and someone else is trying hard and you didn't try hard enough. Because then you're just gonna regret that. You want to try hard.
Also, because it's Warhammer Fantasy Battle 8th edition, so if you don't try hard, you just lose straight away.
Well, Okay, we've got a little bit of a comp system to help address that, though, Rob.
Okay,
So, like,
perfect.
it's we're not savages here. This isn't a libertarian tournament, okay, man. We're not just we're not Darwinian about this, okay? So strong, battle of the fittest, whatever. Okay,
Yeah.
we've got some rules governing list selection. That should make it for an interesting series of dudes on the table.
Okay, love that. Love that.
What are the odds Rob actually finishes assembling those GW's models this stream? 0%? How long have you been working on those Necromunda dudes, Rob?
Okay, I have some wicked ADHD. All right. Some days, like today, I sit down at the studio and I sit down at the desk and I say to myself, "This is going to be one of those ones." Also, like, I can't just stare. This is such a weird flex when you keep telling me stuff and I'll just do this.
I'll keep. Yeah. Why is this the only time I haven't had something to say? It's very difficult.
It's just so lame. Anyway.
Yes.
So the comp system is going to be in place to organize, to make to sand off the spiky edges of what is a perfect square-based game.
Rob, why you always gotta trigger me like this? Look,
I
it's not perfect. It's not perfect.
Okay.
I never said it was perfect.
Okay.
I
wasn't being. Honestly, there was no sarcasm there. I was being serious.
Oh, yeah. No sarcasm. Oh, man, I feel like I've missed a bunch of people who are... Oh, no, we're talking about you. Robert Symes, the honest wargamer, 6 dice skills. You get to get the 6 dice out. I should say more accurately, be upset when other people 6 dice you. And...
the first time someone 6 dice purple suns me, I might get a boner. Like, I'll be like, what are you doing? They'll be like, 6 dice. Like, stop. Let me film this entire fucking moment. This hasn't happened for 8 years. I'm so excited. I'll be like, do you think that what you're about to do is a representation of skill? And they'll be like, yes. And then they'll just purple sun my army off the board. And I'll be like, you're a winner. You're a winner, kid. Yeah, high five. Yeah, high fucking five, kid.
I just want to encourage everyone to only bring the lore of death. And if you don't get Purple Sun of Xerxes, there might be a house rule. If you're playing Rob, you may just switch one of your you just get the Purple Sun against Rob. I think that should probably be a house rule at this point because you just deserve, like, even if they're not running death. I think everyone who plays you gets to have Purple Sun.
I had such a rough go, man. I was like, because I started out with ogres. I was like, these are so awesome. I had Purple Sun every time, and I was like, okay, all right, okay, what's cool?
No, I got this. I'll play with
Chaos Dwarfs. Yeah, I was like, these are cool. Oh no! I was like, okay, all right, let's switch it up. Seraphon. Okay, Lizard Men.
Yeah.
Also, really cool. Guess what? I'm like, right. Okay.
Those are 1, 2, and 3 of the lowest initiative armies in the game. And for those at home who are like, what the hell are these idiots talking about? Purple Sun was a basically like a template, big fat template. And if it went over your dudes, they had to take an initiative test, which means you had to roll under your initiative. And everyone he just mentioned were initiative 2. So that means that 5 out of 6 of anything that template touched died whenever Rob ran into it. So I can understand why you was sad about it.
Also important for you to know, you're like, oh yeah, but not characters, right? Like Star Wars meme. Yeah, characters too. Like just any this characters.
They could look out,
heroes.
sir. They could look out, sir.
They could.
So unlike Dwellers Below, but we're getting into it right now. We're getting a little bit crunchy for this. But I don't know if people signed up for like hard hitting crunch.
Well,
analysis.
you're gonna have to listen to my list development diaries now every Thursday. I'm like, what should I play? What should I play, chat? Okay, it's very exciting.
I mean, I'm looking at him. You got to play Big Pete.
Oh, Big Pete Colosimo. So Pete's coming as well. That's the other big news, right?
Oh shit! Yeah, fuck. How do I forget that? Because he's not on the attending list because somehow, Rob.
Yeah.
I feel like I jokingly said, if like you should come out and be the judge, and And Pete interpreted that as, I should come out and be the judge. And so he's the TO. Peter the Falcon will be the guy walking around trying to explain the arcane magic and twisted interactions of
I'm
this
just gonna
game.
I'm just gonna keep cheating. I'm like this, and people are like, I'm sorry, Pete, I haven't played this in 8 years, and he'll be like, okay, well, just next time, and I will always get it wrong.
Like I've only ever known Peter as a content creator and like as a 40K stats guy, as my friend. I've never really like actually even played much Warhammer with him. We played like one game of TTS, he destroyed me. We played 2 games of fantasy. But like I think Pete as a Warhammer TO might be his final form. It might be the most perfect version of my friend Peter the Falcon Colosimo. Like I can't imagine like his beard just sort of just a bit like just a do not fuck with face all the time and just laying it down like just knowledge, like just weird all these like situations that you can just pull out of his butt and you're like there's no way that's right. And then he looks and then you look it up because you don't believe him. This is basically every conversation I have with him. I have to look up things because I don't believe what he's telling me. And then it's always right. Like that is the art. He is the archetype of a Warhammer TO. And now at the Squarebase GT in beautiful downtown Welland, Ontario, you too can have Pete passively aggressively explain something to you in a way that's condescending and a little emasculating.
Nothing will beat the Italian TO that we have at the Age of Sigmar Worlds, who, and I mean this quite seriously, hates the attendees, hates them. Yeah, when they turn up, yeah, shout out to Carlos if he's here. When they turn up, like not the last Age of Sigmar Worlds, but Age of Sigmar Worlds before, he was just sat in the middle, just reading a book on like Russian czars.
Yeah, just nothing to do with it.
People were coming up to him, and they were like, "Here's a question." He was like, "Have you read all of the rules yet?" And they were like, "No." And he's like, "Do that first, and if you can't deal with it, then come back to me." And then they would go away, and then they would never come back. And I sat with him at dinner once, and I was like, "What's your strategy?" And he's like, "If I help them once, they'll always want help." Okay.
So he is the libertarian AOS judge. That's great. That is absolutely fantastic. But you know what? I feel like great judges have to have at least a little bit of disgust for their people. Like the LVO, at least he used to be the head judge. I think he still is. The infamous Salty John. As from what I can tell, absolutely. John. He just hates Warhammer. Like he doesn't like it. He doesn't like the people who play it. He doesn't like the way the game works. He hates it. He's salty. He's literally known as Salty John, and he is the TO for the largest 40K event on the planet. So I think it's just part of the gig.
I think so. I'm not sure though, because like I know a lot of TOs and they all actually like the game, and I think
terrible TOs.
I think
out of hand.
They're very
good.
They're good. They're very good.
No way they're good. No.
They're very good.
No.
Carlos also actually loves the game. He just knows more than we do. Like that was his reference to Pete. He just knows more and doesn't want to engage with you.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, so good.
No, and also no, I'm not really joking about Peter. He's going to be mean to everybody. It's going to be great. What else? So you're coming now. I guess probably the biggest swinging dick we've got from like just a YouTube fame perspective is probably Shug Hammer. Herself.
Shug Hammer. Rolling.
Death Row Records.
Shug
Hammer.
Shug Hammer. Let's go.
She now we're still hashing this out, but I believe she yelled over the phone yesterday that she's down to be our official painting judge.
Yes, that's true. She is. She is going to be the official painting judge of Warhammer Fantasy Battle event, which is pretty spicy.
I mean, I feel like it's so up her alley though. Like, there's going to be a lot of terrible models because fantasy has a lot of terrible models. People try so hard. I think this carried into AOS. I don't know if this is generally true, but like when I'm at a big event and I look at the AOS shit, like it's painted nice.
Yep.
It's nice. So I feel like there's a little bit more pride of workmanship, to be taken. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, we've got a lot of people try really hard in the AOS community generally. It's because we ultimately quite like our armies, which is nice. There is a trick actually to getting a painting nom from the Suggs. Is you there's a little bit of a trick, a little hack. So obviously
Go
when we
ahead.
run events at the TSN Arena, I often will get, so we do coolest army, which is voted by the players, but we do best
Yep.
painted, which obviously she judges, because obviously it's better if she judges than me. A
Yes.
quick trick is I now have seen people with completely unrelated armies doing a small conversion where there's a goblin in it.
Oh,
Yeah, like, and
just
then
a little,
or an
a
orc.
little,
Yeah, they
what
like
do
add
they
it
call it?
in.
Little Easter egg for the shook.
Yeah, and then she's like, "Oh my god, maybe it's this army now." Like, just so easily emotionally manipulated in that regard. So just be conscious of that. If for the square base GT, because I'll be making a Chaos Dwarf army made completely of goblins. That's my plan. No, I don't know actually. I don't know.
You could actually. I have a full I've got three army. There's one army that I think it has to be because I've talked a lot about them, the vampire counts that I'm super into right now.
Yeah.
But now I've got my brain all thinking, hey, I want to try hard. So the try hard brain's coming up. And let's be honest, vampire counts a little bit mid, in fantasy.
Oh no.
But well, now they are like they're fun as hell, but like I don't think they were like meta crushing by any stretch. They were just good. They and I would have a good time if I play them, I'm sure.
Mm.
But I want to win, baby. And actually, as I said that out loud, I was about to suggest I should maybe play goblins, but that's a terrible idea if I want to win.
Orcs and goblins are good.
They're good, but like vampire counts are better. The list that I have that is my apps, like one of my favorite lists I've ever played, period, is what I played at Du Bois GT last year, and it was Empire, and it was so much fun. It was just so much fun. So anyway, where are we?
So we've got like, well, now we know that there's going to be an event. It's a 2-day event, 5 rounds.
It's gonna have to be.
What rule set is it? It's Warhammer Fantasy Battle 8th edition.
8th edition. Five. By the way, 5 rounds. 5 rounds. I called it the Square Base GT not because I ever expected to actually have GT numbers, but right now on my spreadsheet, including my secret wait list, we are up to 29 confirmed players.
Well, thanks to Bone Reaper Bill for donating 5 gift subs in the chat. At that massive news. 29 players.
29 players, and if Nurgle Matt changed his mind, we'd be at an even 30.
That's a lot of people to play Warhammer Fantasy Battles.
Right? Like it's a little unusual. I'm like just taken aback.
On American bank holiday as well. Not bank holiday, you know what I mean.
Oh, no, Rob. They only get Thursday off. Because on Friday everyone has to go work in the retail mines so that Black Friday can happen.
Okay, sorry.
And as a result, probably have to also work Saturday and Sunday. Thanksgiving's bizarre. Yeah, so no, it's like the weekend after. So most Americans have traveled home because also Americans don't live where they were born. Generally, they have to move for work. So everyone travels on like Wednesday. They eat turkey on Thursday. They shop on Friday, and then they argue with their uncle for Saturday and go home Sunday. That's kind of how it goes, from what I understand. But anyway, a digression. There's like 30 people. We've got room. I got again mini wargaming Josh, the concierge at the bunker. He was kind. They had sort of set up a recording thing in half of the bunker space. So I was squeezing 11 tables into like actually a small footprint, and then we've gotten the green light to disassemble all that stuff. So we'll have the entire game space down there. I don't know what comfortably we can do. I feel like somewhere between 34 and 40 we could get up to, but I mean like 32 would be my dream. I would just love to get to like full blown GT, 5 rounds, 1 winner. Let's go. Like I think that would be sick as hell.
Yeah. Okay. That's very, very fun. Very fun. So 5 rounds. How many? Is there like? I think you said to me that no end times.
Yeah. So yeah, the basis of the event. So obviously it's 8th edition, as we've covered. This is all I ever really talk about. People have bemoaned that it's not 6th edition, but they weren't coming anyway, as you always point out.
They weren't coming.
8th edition players travel across the planet. Adam Camilleri, you're sick. So we're gonna use something called the Triple Crown Wargaming Pack. I want to keep plugging these guys because again, they've kept the flame of like tournament Warhammer 8th edition alive, and they're nice guys. So they have a channel. I know only watch Rob and the Chiefs channel, but if you got extra time and you like Warhammer Fantasy, these guys are great. Mountain Managers are great. Anyway, they run a couple of events each year. They pointed out to me in the comments, not only in Derby. Apparently Derby is a particular event they run. The one that's the Triple Crown GT is in an old church somewhere. I don't know where. Doesn't matter. But they do a comp pack that again provides some rules around army selection. They have an FAQ that makes a few tweaks, but nothing like extreme. And they also have about 5 different, they have 4 different missions that are based on the rule book, but again, tweaked to be a little more simple and pretty straightforward and interesting. And don't have things like that, like random deployment. Like there's a lot of weird deployment stuff in the rule book missions. So anywho, I am super pumped to be using this pack, sir.
It's really fun. Okay, love that. So there's a comp pack. You're cutting it back a little bit, 30-ish, yes, but maybe more players, which is really fun. If you had I know obviously you've already got some faves and you've got some maybes. Who's your dream? Like, who's your dream couple of like people? Who would really sell it to you? You know, like, is there a celebrity? Is there a big YouTuber you're a big fan of? You know, like what would get you excited?
All like beyond what is.
I mean, I know you've already got an incredible lineup. I'm just asking beyond
that. Well, I mean, I would like to be clear. Like, I can't express enough how awesome the people who are coming. Chuck Moore, you know Chuck, he's coming. He's like one of our only Americans. But to answer your question, the Mountain. I need Steve. I want Steve to come because again,
well, then this people... is. Wait, let me stop you there. Then, chat, and also all YouTube listeners and podcasters, just let's dock Steve. Let's go. Right? Let's just every YouTube comment, every Twitter post, every Facebook post. Yeah, tell him about the Squarebase GT. Tell him to get in touch. Okay, let's go. We can do this through the power of... We've talked about this a lot on the show, Val. Yeah?
Okay.
The Honest Wargaming community have done a lot through the power of aggressive online bullying. Yeah?
All right. He seems like he might be, as a fellow tall, large man myself, he might be vulnerable to bullying.
I don't mean... Sorry. I don't mean anything personal. Jesus Christ! No,
Well, I'm just saying. The Mountain maybe just needs to get negged, and he'll show up in Squarebase GT.
You won't even go to it, Steve. You fucking sucker! Right? Come on.
So Steve streams live all the time. I wish I knew his schedule, but I don't, because that's my plan was to just camp out in his chat and get banned. So we're on the same wavelength.
Oh, right, good, okay. Right,
I have, so far, I mean, I have also, he's probably at this point wondering who the fuck Val Heffelfinger is, because basically I have a connection to a dozen people who see him regularly, and I haven't told the individuals that I've told everyone else to tell him to play in the Squarebase GT. So, like, I'm hoping that just every day someone's annoying him by being like, hey, man, have you heard about this tournament? And he can just be like, I've heard about the tournament. I don't want to play in it.
Perfect.
And but he streams live. Like, he's got like he does live streams of games, often 8th edition.
Never catch on.
And well, yeah, like, but you know, he always does it from the studio there. Like, he's literally, I think he says he can't play because he does a stream on Saturdays. So he'll be down the hall and playing probably Warhammer Fantasy. So why not, Steve?
Why can't we just stream his
why
game?
Why not? We'll just do a little well, not even cross promo. We don't need the promo, Steve. We don't need the notoriety. We've got global reach. All right, pal? We need you. We need you. And you, if you like Steve, we'll let you have a bit of our shine. We'll let you stream our event if you want. We can make that. We can make your table our table. What do you think, Steve? What do you think? We could televise. This isn't television. We could put on the internet a Warhammer Fantasy Battles 8th edition event in glorious 1080p. What do you think?
He could do a list. Thank you. He could do a list review before the event. Thank you so much. He could do a list review before, which I've now nicknamed to be list roasts. I don't do list reviews anymore. I only do scathing list roasts. I don't know if you've seen any of them so far, because people do ask me to do list reviews, and I just cuss the people for like 30 minutes. It's great. It's really cathartic. Someone is like, oh, another Space Marine list. Oh, fucking brilliant. Well done. Yeah, you dry white toast motherfucker. Like, it's great. It just makes you feel wholesome, and like everything's fixed.
You know, I think there's so much opportunity here, given that like everyone has a podcast and or some sort of platform to just talk a lot of garbage and junk about this event. There she is.
There we
Official
go.
painting judge
our painting
of the Square Bash
expert.
GT.
I don't know if she wants to jump in and say, talk about. Have you thought about what categories will be for the Square Base GT?
Ooh, most square.
Most square.
Most square.
Most square and most bast. Okay, so
I encourage someone out there for the Square Base GT to only bring a based army. No paint, only based.
I've actually played that guy already, so can we not do that? That sucks.
But wouldn't it be amazing if it was just immaculately like textured and based, but just like gray plastic on top? Like that would be pretty based.
That would be very, as they say, based. They say based.
Also,
what are the painting requirements? Because I could 3D print up an army next week, baby. So what are the painting requirements?
So in the pack as it stands, essentially they have, I don't know, they kind of, there's basically so the way it works is it's 20-0 system for scoring, 5 games. That means there's 100 points up for grabs, right? So that's so say you're amazing at Warhammer. You have not slept since 2015. You've only been repping for this moment.
I'm ready.
You go 20-0 5 times in a row. Everyone hates you, but you love yourself. Mm-hmm. You now have 100 points. However, your comp score is then added or deducted to that. So if you have let's say a softer list, your comp score should be on top of that. So it can be as much as plus 10, or it can be negative from that, as much as you want. So you can bring like literally every evil thing from Warhammer Fantasy Battles and have like a minus 25 list if you have that little respect for your opponents being able to like
have a good time.
Still net out. Well, not having we're not talking about having a good time, Rob. Come on. We're giving everyone Purple Sun to ruin your day. Yeah. For example, like if you bring a slightly more powerful list, say it's a -5 or a -10, that means now you're working with 90 victory points or 95 victory points. You've given yourself a 5 or 10% penalty based on your list, which I think is kind of a clever way to handicap it. Mm-hmm. And then after that, there will be. I think I'm just going to do the 8th and 9th edition 40k thing, the 9th edition 40k thing, which is if you're battle ready, if your army is battle ready, so essentially 3 colors and based, you get an extra 10 points.
Okay.
So that encourages people to do their best to like get it up to a presentable standard. I think that's all we could ever hope for. Mm-hmm. And I mean, people are so fired up right now that I'd be shocked if like there's a lot of unfinished armies in the building on that day. Also, I'm lending out. This is a fucking library of Warhammer Fantasy over here, so I'm already lending out like 2 or 3 armies. So those are painted, so I know those ones will be ready to go. So that's sort of where your tournament points come from. I think maybe we'll do a favorite opponent, but I'm not going to include that in the like the overall score.
See, can I just talk to you about this for a minute? Like,
please talk to me. Get low. Let's go. Bring it in.
Understand the Old World release now in this singular moment, it just hit me. It just hit me. Let me explain what just happened. You were talking about all these armies, and then I was talking about all the armies that I was thinking through. Or what army will I 3D print? Like, what army will fit in a case? One of the armies I never had in Warhammer Fantasy Battle Days was just a straight dwarf army, not the cool guy dwarf armies, but just drunk dwarfs. And I was like, oh, they would travel really well, magnetize in a case, they'd be super simple sort of thing. And I got it. I just understood the old world. I wasn't thinking what's the coolest sculpt I can think of. I was thinking of those original Rangers and the ponies and and I think I just got it. Like they're going to sell only that nostalgia. They don't want to try anything else. And in that moment I was just like, oh, like, I get it. Like, I'm really excited for the old world for, changing the paradigm a little bit, probably 3D print a lot of armies that look a lot better or more in keeping with my version of what, maybe Empire looks like or, Tomb Kings or Dwarfs or whatever the situation might be. But in that very moment then, I think I understood, like, what it is that they're trying to, like, capture because it's probably the feelings they have. They probably never got to finish off that Tomb King army, let's say. And they're like, I'm talking about the game developers and the creators in some ways. They never got to do it. Like, they never got to see it realized or finalized. So they go in there first. I think that's a bad place to start a game system. The communication is bad. It's definitely a bad, product. But it's not a bad foundation for a product.
So this is how I got triggered, right? So, like, going back to that comment back and forth on the last show. The Fantasy Battles was basically 10 years of neglect and alienating, How to Lose Friends and Alienate People by Tom Kirby and the guy you mentioned. Like they actively worked hard to make sure this game died. Didn't mean that people didn't like it. The rule system spun off its axis in a direction that people like. Essentially, you had 5th edition Warhammer 40,000. You had 6th edition. You had 6th edition Fantasy Battles. That is the goal. That is the previous golden age of Games Workshop. That was their highs of everything, and they also had Lord of the Rings in there. So those three things, wildly popular. They expanded their retail, everything. If you were to look at their stock, and it's not the only measure of the value of output of human progress, but in capitalism, it's a good proxy.
You're fucking worried then. You were like, oh, actually, no, it's not the stocks. Don't say the stocks.
Square bast. It is a fair proxy in a place that sells things. The previous peak of their company was in 2006. So that era of games was the previous golden age to the one that I would say probably started in about 2017 that I've gotten to enjoy as a big boy, as an adult. However, the new golden age has never had fantasy, right? It never had that game, of which they already had 10 years of people wistfully looking back and saying, I wish I could enjoy this. And I think when in 2017, when they dropped Warhammer 40K 8th edition, not Fantasy 8th edition, 40K 8th edition, there was this massive explosion in interest in 40K. Like, that was the first time everything sold out. Like, couldn't buy Lehman Russ. You couldn't buy anything. The doors got blown off. And I don't think that was because new players suddenly wanted so badly to get into this Warhammer thing. I think that happens. I think there are more 40K players now and AOS players now than there were in 2017, no doubt.
Oh, but I think exponential.
I think the thing that blew it up was that there was this dormant player base, this dormant group of people who had moved on to other things, oftentimes other Games Workshop games like Horus Heresy or War Machine or video games, whatever, other things. And when 8th edition dropped, there was this reason to come back. And I think that's exactly what's going to happen with Old World. I think Old World, as long as they don't make it, go fuck yourself, here's Old World, and I don't necessarily think they will, I think that there will be a lot of people, and you can see it in this event that we're running here. How many people have told me, fuck you, Simon / Val? That's my real name. How you doing, everybody?
Shit! Panic!
why are you making me care about this again? Like I've got like people who are 40K, like literally Adam is one of the biggest 40K diehards. Dustin, one of the biggest 40K diehards. These are WTC players. And now I have them literally probably in group chats arguing about lists in the comp that we have. So, I mean, that's a beautiful thing to me, but it also speaks to me that this is a game that was not, it was not sick. Well, it was very sick, but it was certainly killed. And it died of neglect. And so it's so cool to see people coming back. And it's awesome. Demon, I know your true name. Yes, thank you, Tim King. Thank you. Also, get in that van. They're going to be driving by PEI, bro. Get in the van.
Get in the van, buddy.
Get in the van, Tristan. Come on down to beautiful downtown Welland, Ontario for the Square Bass GT. Let's get back on topic.
Well, so like I'm pretty excited. Let me just tell you through some of the armies I'm thinking as a player. Obviously, Chaos Dwarfs. I'm a big stan, but unfortunately, I did have to sell my Chaos Dwarf army back in the day, which is RIP forever and ever.
Do you want it back?
No.
If you could have it, would you want it?
No. Like it does hold like some like emotional connection, but not enough that like it remotely. I could 3D print another Chaos Dwarf army, 100%. Like, and I'm very comfortable because actually the sculpts are probably a bit better. I think actually, thanks Craig Noss for resubscribing. I think I will never forgive myself for building those little elbows onto those little guys, onto the little guns, which must have taken me dozens of hours. I think back now on my life, I probably could know how to play the flute, like in the time.
Sure. But we don't. But we don't fucking love woodwind instruments, all right, man? We love Warhammer, so forgive yourself.
Okay. Well, anyway. But the I am about to list an army of Initiative 2, 1 or 2. So I'm a pretty big fan of that. I also kind of like their playstyle. It was kind of fun. The war machines are always really exciting, if not a little bit frustrating. So that would be really fun to play. Empire as well, quite fun, but it's quite grindy in the middle. But I think so. Chaos Dwarves would be kind of like my love because I love them. But mechanics-wise, I think it would have to be Lizardmen, because of how they play. Specifically because like I had a build towards the end of 8th edition which worked in like soft comps where you got like the soft comps were fairly kind to the Lizardmen, because I took a pretty odd weird list, and then there was different to like the Lizardmen main one. So I ended up being able to do okay, but also the list was really engaging. It was really fun. But what will make everyone in the Age of Sigmar community laugh, if anyone who is in it is listening, is that the list I ran in 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battles was the Croak Bomb, right?
So -2 for Teto Echo. What the?
Yeah, Teto's so good, man. You have to take Teto as well.
Teto was one of the first questions I ever asked you. When I was when I was getting ready to play my first game ever, which was Lizardmen versus Dwarves. Yeah. Like 4 times. I just got it was like beating your head on an anvil. It was, and I cherish every minute of it. Tech Priest Dicky. Also coming to the Square Bass Dicky. It's like everybody who is a person you want to hang out with is coming to the Square Bass GT. It's fantastic. That was not a glowing review of Tech Priest Dicky. Look, he's not going to be table bossing for you, Rob. He can't hurt you.
I said I loved him.
You just went, uh-huh.
No, you missed it where I put my hand in the air and I shouted Tech Priest Dicky. I did a whole thing.
Uh-huh. All right.
Right, okay. All right.
I mean, speaking of negging people, Tech Priest Dicky, you may not know this, is a literal trained killer. And you could end my life at any time. So I like to put my head in the lion's jaw all the time, just to tempt fate. So it's okay. But I'm looking at like the comp for the Square Bass GT as it stands right now. I'm working on a pack. I'm mostly frozen in place on the pack because every time I do something with Rob, I get scared about layout and formatting and graphic design.
Welcome to my life.
You have high standards. So who has these high standards, Rob? Because Tom told me it was you, and you tell me it's Tom. And is it Louise? Who is the mean person who's judging everyone so hardly on their design?
It's definitely
Is
Tom.
it your
but
art teacher from elementary school?
It's Tom, but he wants me to say that it's someone else because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want it to be him. But what is it? Like sometimes someone will design. Like I now have got like the Tom voice that lives permanently in my head. People who don't know, all of the graphics that get done on the War Game are done by Tom.
Not this.
Not that, no. Like the Squarebase, like if you've watched this video, the thumbnail for this and all of those things. And he's a very talented designer. Like as well as a bunch of other stuff he's really talented at.
He's a handsome man.
He is, but he's also a bitch. Right, and he because and quite rightly so. Like I will cuss out like a list or like a tournament organizer or something, with the same vehemency. With like, like he treats me like I am a moron. He's like, I'm like, oh,
if you're a moron. If you're a moron, I feel so naked right now for everything I put out in the world.
I'm like, this looks good. And he's like, oh, the most scathing line he ever sent me, ever, if I can tell you, is I sent him an idea for a video. And he said, oh, so we're just making jokey content. And I was like,
oh, wow. Wow. This also made me realize that when I met him, I mean, I'm sorry, the pit of my stomach just dropped. This also makes me realize why, when I met him, he spoke really slowly and loudly whenever he talked to me. It makes more sense now.
But everyone needs someone like that in my life.
Neanderthal.
Like we were in Canada last year. Me and Tom were over with you, and he's like, if anyone has noticed the improved quality of the Honest War Game over the past year. Direct thank you to him in so many ways, because he does hold me to a higher standard, which I don't hold myself to, or I do hold myself to, but like I don't know, I can't realize it or whatever.
And you can't argue with handsome. He's friggin'. Does he like fantasy? We should get Tommy over. We gotta get Tomboy out of here.
Absolutely not. No way.
Does not meet his aesthetic expectations at all.
No, he plays Warhammer 40,000 and then Frostgrave and then Frostgrave.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah. I don't really know what the correlation is there, but
I feel like he probably fantasizes about infinity.
I don't think so. I don't know. Like I'm not really sure. Like he plays salamanders and Gene Stealer cults, so I feel like
okay, cool.
Because you got to admit, what Space Marine Legion someone plays and then what Xenos Army plays is really indicative. Like Louise is Rainbow Warriors and Orcs, and that makes a lot of sense.
Okay, all right.
She's the deep lore and she's the fun. It makes it easy. Yeah.
Yes. So, and Rainbow Warriors are also fun. Like that's bringing the fun into. It's putting the fun in Space Marine.
It's putting the fun in Space Marines. Exactly. She can't have nothing but fun. I don't know what Space Marine Legion you play. I know you play Orcs.
I played Orcs. My Space Marine chapter is Raptors.
Okay. All right. So you're
also green and
you're
sneaky.
A little bit edgy.
Tactical. Which, by the way, you can buy right now on eBay. So if you like the new Space Marine book, only the 6th Space Marine book in 6 years, if you want an army of beautifully painted Raptors Space Marines with custom chapter badges, swing on over to SVEP84 on ebay.ca.
Time to also press the interaction button. Beep, beep. Please let us know what Space Marine faction plus Xenos Army you play in the chat. Please and thank you.
Fantasy Army too.
I mean, Fantasy Army too.
Yeah. My first Fantasy Army. Yeah, what was my Empire? Empire was.
What is your red flag? Was my first one. What is your red flag Fantasy Army?
Is there one? They're all kind of. This was in like our first. This is like in our like primordial ooze of the show. Was that we just have to accept
Fantasy Battles. Sorry, go on.
We have to accept that we need we should get Louise like the Robin treatment from Howard Stern. She can just have like a cam we can cut to.
I have that. I literally have. I've got the technology. I've produced it for her. Like she presses a button, she's like beep beep, and put it in.
Because like whenever you hear her mumbling to herself, just hit the button so that she can cut in. And,
I'm gonna install it later.
Yes, new element. Well, she's the official painting judge of the Square Bash GT, so I mean we need a better name for that too. Anyway, red flag. They're all red flags, Rob. They're all red flags.
Are they?
Well, I mean, none of them are I mean, they're all kind of tropey. You know what I mean? But are any of them fascist? I
No,
don't
that's the other thing about Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Thank you, by the way, to Big Schnitzel for subscribing for 3 months in a row. Yeah, I hope you find the biggest schnitzel you could ever. A schnitzel too big to eat.
Like chaos dwarves and dark elves are vile. Like goblins, like they're vile. Like they're bad guys.
Chaos Dwarfs are just working a shift, man. Like they're just
No, their slaves are working the shift, man. Their slaves are. Same with the dark elves. They literally have
actually
slaves.
find that that's a lot of corporate restructuring that they're doing. Yeah. Okay. Right.
I love it total. I love that in Total War they got all self-conscious because I guess since Warhammer Total War 2,
The Dark Elves.
yeah, with dark elves they have a slave mechanic for the dark elves, and also one of the mean Eltharion I think has a slave mechanic for the high elves. But then when the when the chaos dwarves dropped, society has progressed since then. We've learned a little bit about history, and suddenly it's labor. It's not. They're not slaves. It's labor. That's funny to me.
Well,
Anyway,
actually, it could be the other way. Like, I don't know if you know this. I don't know if they're self-conscious or if they were just making a larger class point. If they would, they're effectively saying because slavery was labor, right? But it was labor with no no choice, obviously, but also
slavery is slavery. Like
yeah, it is. No, sorry. Let me kind of expand on my point. Like you were still doing labor, but that labor was not rewarded, and also you were trapped in doing that labor. So because it's quite fair to say that a lot of people, especially in the US, are economic slaves. Yeah. Now I'm not comparing working a low-paying job in the US to being an actual ownership level slave, right? Obviously. But the parallels about how labor is used and exploited is very fair, right? I think. And also, I think it's a fair point to say that maybe they didn't get tender and maybe they were like, look at the greater point. Like, this is labor that those people are, capitalizing on. Because, Chaos Dwarfs are effectively, mega capitalists and also slavers. And so maybe they were trying to be a little bit more direct. They were like,
so
by the way,
the hobgoblins are indentured servants or are sharecroppers. They're not slaves. Okay.
Well, I mean, serfs were effectively treated. The serfs were slaves, in so many ways. Not quite. Not
serfdom
quite.
Means that you're a feature of the land. So you are tied to the land. So if you own the land, you own the people, which is different than owning the individual person.
Agreed.
Let's come on. This is 50 Shades of Slave right now.
Oh, Jesus
but
Christ.
so the
Thank you to the
point,
Mujahideen for the book.
Yes. Squarebast. Look, the thing I was trying to say actually was that because the thing with 40K that sort of irks me at times is that because it seemed to lose its irony or its self-awareness in a lot of ways, and also because I think for marketability, they slapped a veneer of good guys versus bad guys. The thing is that it's grounded in Grimdark, which is, all about, everyone is bad. Or at least everyone is craven. Everyone is doing what they need to do to survive, which apparently always requires tyranny and autocracy. However, over time, a space marine has been glossed up, Gilliman is heroic.
Yeah.
And that to me means that you wind up rooting for characters that are evil while relating to them, rather than rooting for characters that are evil because it's fun and it's a game and it's meaningless, which is what you get in fantasy, because you really do have more of a divide between good versus evil. There is a lot of evil in the Empire, the elves, and all that stuff. But yeah.
Yeah, there was a lot of evil in the Empire, but ultimately there was just some humans a lot of the time, just being humans.
Trying to live, man. Trying to live. And there's these beastmen in the forest, and they keep eating my children.
They really miss the mark. So they released a new City Sigmar for Age of Sigmar, and they've really missed the mark on just not making them the out and out, at least trying to be good guys. They've gone down the religious crusade line, and you're like, cool, yeah, you've done this in a setting like which is why my like headcanon for my City of Sigmar is they're just lads who love pies. They're the pie city, and they just like they make pies, feed
We're
people
talking
pies.
meat pies.
Yeah,
meat
all
pies?
sorts of pies. Yeah, just pies. And so like they've missed a real trick, because that's again one of the things I really like about Warhammer Fantasy Battles is I really like the lizard men, because when I read their background I was like, cool, the old ones don't really know what the plan is there, but like, you know, there's the great plan. They're generally always on the side of good. They're trying to help people out.
Don't know what the plan is, but there is a great plan. It's the best plan. You've never seen such a plan.
Many people are telling me it's the best plan.
Someone stopped me and, you know, my uncle was a plan. He knew plans. He said, that's a great plan.
Exactly. And I like that about Warhammer Fantasy Battle, if I'm honest, the setting. I like that there is just good guys, or goodish guys. I guess that's the way to describe it.
And also, they are like the factions are what they are. You know what I mean? Like, they don't, I don't know, you can, I don't know how I'm like, you don't accidentally wind up rooting for fascists, like, earnestly. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
and that's, you don't kind of find yourself daydreaming and wishing that you lived in the Imperium, and then you think about the fact that that means that your child might get turned into a friggin' lobotomized cherub. You know, like, that's sort of, whereas with the old world, there are places probably that like aren't horrible. There's like, in the sense that like there are probably places in medieval Europe that, you know, you could live in, maybe, probably bad example. But look, digressing. I love the fantasy world. It is what it is, and it does have a lot of tropes. Lizard men, for example, have some of the worst tropes, and I hope that they actually double back and maybe just fix that. Just like use what they've learned in you know, doing riffs on cultures, maybe
there is
remove.
no one in that department who A, is younger than us, right? That's A. B, has any level of social media, right? Yeah. And then they're not hitting that. They're not hitting that.
You think that like the blowpipe of Patui is gonna come back?
No, I don't think they're gonna do that.
Tic-tac-toe? Do you think that shit's gonna happen more? Like, I hope not. Because
don't forget, I'm an SDS stan. SDS are the best. Right,
yes,
remember.
But what I'm saying is, like, I think that stuff was clearly written by like people who didn't know any better. Like, okay, they probably should have. It was the 90s, but like, also no, like, they like, that was very common, sort of like white privilege culture to, like, you know, do those kind of riffs on other civilizations and peoples. And I think that if you take the source material, which would be sort of, you know, the jungles, the Aztec, the Inca, and you did a I don't know, like, just you take the coolest, like, those are some of the coolest civilizations. If some of the coolest like things that you can draw on, that's just so evocative, and you turn that and like use that rather than as a tongue-in-cheek joke. You do all these low-hanging like bullshit jokes in the names of things, and instead you use that as a foundation for making really cool lore and models and stuff. Like, that's going to be awesome. It's like people who say like, you can't do Araby, it's racist. You can't do Cathay, it's racist. Sure you can. If you pay if you pay the culture respect, and you make them as badass. Like, there are so many badass stories, so many badass things that people across this entire real world have thought of and cherish. And if you take those things and you actually cherish them, and you use the pieces that are like the most evocative and just interesting, then yes, you can create cool things. And things that aren't offensive.
If they just ring the Total War guys, just ring those guys. Just be like, hey, how do you do this? Like, well, we have these things called meetings, right? And occasionally we pay experts from external to us to come in and talk to us about stuff. And they're like, wow, we're not doing that. Is there like a PDF online? No. Okay. All right. Well, let's just gung-ho it. All right. Okay.
Sorry, who did I call? Who am I talking to again? Send help.
We just want pay that matches inflation.
So anyway, Scrivo, come to the Square Bash GT. Can we look, GT? What else haven't we said about it? Anything?
I want to thank TH912 for subscribing in the chat. Number one. What have we said? There's going to be lots of people. Cool.
Yes.
So obviously we've said that the Mountain is going to stream it. This is confirmed. Thank you to the Mountain for streaming it. Shout out to you.
You're
Well
scared.
done.
You're scared, Mountain. You wouldn't stream the Squarebase GT. You're scared.
The Mountain, for years, you have wanted. You've wanted Warhammer Fantasy Battle. You've wanted to get Warhammer Fantasy Battle, and now we're bringing Warhammer Fantasy Battle to the Mountain.
To your house.
To the Mountain. Yeah. Like, we're not making the Mountain go to it. We're bringing it to the Mountain. So
I like that you censored that idiom. Fantastic. In this, yes, Steve, you are Mohammed in this case. Okay, we're bringing. Or no, is he? Are we Mohammed? Who's Mohammed?
Who's who?
Look, I'm going to ascend the mountain, and I'm going to bring the 10 commandments down, and every commandment will be Steve should play in the Squarebase GT. That's what we need to do. He's live all the time. I think you're right, Rob. Gentle bullying, or maybe even aggressive bullying on every channel, Discord, place that he is. It's time that we bring this to him, because he says he can't make it. And I will feel really bad in retrospect if it's not because he's streaming down the hall, but because he has a wedding or something, or a thing to attend to. Also, people who play like battle reports for their job, I can also see maybe not being as stoked to go to a GT. And I do notice this, that a lot of them don't play outside, like off camera, because they could be making money doing that instead. But
That's a good shout. Also, Steve, I recognise you've been doing a lot of Warhammer Fantasy Battles. Last time I called a YouTuber out, or a group of YouTubers out, was the content creators, the hobby people. And they threw shade at me, so then I made Slapchop for them to all deal with. So don't make me Slapchop Warhammer Fantasy Battle, the Mountain. Yeah, I don't know what that looks like yet, but I will.
For the record, I am Slapchopping the shit out of things.
Oh, how are you finding it as a process?
Dude, I love Slap. I was the earliest adopter of Slapchop. It's transcendent. It changed my relationship with hobbying. That is not even hyperbole.
Me too. Me too. If we can all shout out Rogue Hobbies for doing it, thank you.
I look forward to Wap Chop. I look forward to painting. I just need. I have a lot more to do now, because again I have to get some stuff ready, including a couple lizards. Lizards. But no, Slapchop is transcendent amazing. I tried to give Ninja the obvious the obvious next step for Slapchop, which is oil washes, and using oil washes to paint really fast is magic as well. And I told him to call it ShamWow, and he didn't use the content. So maybe Shughammer needs to ShamWow.
Yeah, potentially. I'm really excited. I'm going to do a video about basing. I'm going to reinvent basing for the modern age, which I'm very looking forward to. Yeah.
Really? Are you?
Yeah, honestly, it's on my list. I did it. I'm so on it. I've got a video streaming tonight at you've watched it now at 8 p.m. On Screen and Zoning. I've just finished.
It's great.
Thank you. I've just finished a 3D print script, which I'm going to do today. But then in writing that video, I wrote 3 more script ideas. So I'm just so excited. I just love making videos. I'm loving making content. So trying to keep that up ASAP, basically.
And on the topic of your zoning vid, it is AOS based, but I mean it is a principle that applies to 40K. It applies to certainly fantasy, and some of the nitty gritty about weapon ranges and things obviously wouldn't apply to all of those. But the things that you think about when screening and zoning things using models on the table, it's very applicable. So yeah, it is good general evergreen content and engaging in your honest wargamer style.
Mercy. I like the reference to the hoplites, which is good stuff. Okay, so I'm looking forward to it. Number one, very grateful to be invited. Thank you so much. Thank you to the Mini Wargaming Bunker for hosting the event. Shout out to WMG Josh. Also a special shout out to the Mountain who's attending.
Yeah, if you want a tender shout out, Steve, maybe you should attend the Squarebase GT.
Exactly.
Just saying, we're down the hall. You just have to come down the hall.
also, I don't know, because you probably keeping track better than me,
Go
because
ahead.
there are still Warhammer Fantasy Battle tournaments happening all around the world, right? Not obviously super often, but sometimes.
Mostly Australia.
Okay.
I see a lot in Australia. You see a lot of basically you see a lot of RTTs. So like, like things you can hold in a game store. Those happen with fair frequency. The In North America, the big events that still have fantasy would be Adepticon. Will always have usually a fantasy tournament of some kind. They've been doing WAP. That's Squarehammer. Who I don't think I realized quite how big of a deal I was when I first suggested he should come. Maybe his tune will have changed at this point.
Okay. Nice.
Um, Squarebast. There's no ego here. The and then also Nova brought back a fantasy tournament recently. There's probably some other than that, but like I'm always kind of looking, and they are pretty rare. There is no fantasy category on BCP, which is heartbreaking because they have every other freaking game. So we're just in the generic category for now, but we'll change that in the future, won't we, Diffie? Won't we? So yeah, like there are, but Australia and Sweden. There's probably twice a year of I'd say a GT level fantasy only 8th edition event in Sweden. So there is stuff around, but it's kind of
So
localized to
my
like where
follow up
someone's
question,
interested.
because obviously also a lot of people moved on to play Warhammer Fantasy Battle and went on to play 9th edition, which I'm not really
Idiots.
sure. I'm not really sure about the numbers in that regard. But my question to you is how large would this event be on the map over the year? Like, which is the largest Warhammer Fantasy Battle event every year?
Well, I think that's probably like I don't know how big the Australians get, but just anecdotally, it's gotta be our boys at Triple Crown Wargaming. They did two 42 player GTS because they basically sold out immediately this year for their annual Triple Crown GT, not in Derby. And so they added a second weekend. So if you put those together, they literally ran a fantasy major. They were two individual events, but those are gotta be the biggest that I know of.
But that
And
means a 30-person GT is big.
yes, no, this is, and also like I don't know the history, like I don't know my local history, so like I know that there were pretty big events, like back in the day in North America, anyway. Like there were 100-person fantasy events, like those did happen. And they were sprinkled all over the place. People would travel to them, just like in those days they were traveling 40K players too. People would travel all over to go to the biggest fantasy events. But like I feel like 100 would have been the biggest. I doubt they got much bigger than that. ETC would probably have been the biggest period as far as people are concerned. But even then, maybe you're cracking a 200 or something like that. I am. This is an area that's hard to tell because BCP spoils me, and other like organizing things spoil me because you can go and look, you can see exactly how many people show up. Whereas I'm just reading tea leaves for the most part. But that'd be interesting. Hit me in the comments. What was the largest Warhammer Fantasy event you knew of, specifically in Southern Ontario? Because I'm just going to say this, Rob. Not only is this the biggest fantasy tournament in Welland, Ontario, but I'm going to say this is the largest Warhammer Fantasy tournament ever in Canadian history.
Huge news, and I feel
hugest.
I'm very excited to be a part of it. Listen, anyone in the comments, or anyone watching this back, if you feel like you can help with the Square Beast GT in some way, are you local and you want to run short stops for people that you want to run a shuttle bus for people that got 6 dice on the first turn to local sites,
back to their hotel room,
yeah,
so you watch cable.
Are you a merch designer? Hit us up. Right, do you have Warhammer Fantasy Battles that you own and you want to lend to us? /give. Any of these things are potentials to help make the Square Beast GT the number one. And this will be the Square Beast GT, I think, the first, but not the last.
Not the last. Not even the last one in the next 6 months.
Because we might, because obviously Sister Event might run a Square Beast GT here in the UK as soon as Old World comes out. So building up to that.
Yes, and maybe old Val will cross the pond, do a reverse cross. The colonies will come to the mother country.
Oh
But
my
we'll
god,
see.
that's so exciting. Very exciting.
The only reason I used to travel for ITC points. I'm only traveling for friendship and good times. That's what I'm doing. But yeah, but between these two things, by the way, guys, like there cannot be a more healthy canary in the mine shaft or the potential future of this game than how many people are dropping what they're doing. And like we're talking about people who are chronically addicted to, 40K AOS, other things. They're doing other stuff. They have dropped it. They are dusting off armies. They are figuring out how to 3D print missing pieces. They are borrowing shit from me. They are doing whatever they can to come and play. They're learning rules to a game that has not existed for 8 years to come play. That's how pent up. That's how edged out this community is right now. Hell, we don't even have a community right now, but we will after the Square-based GT. Everybody.
Well, that's not true because everyone who's listening to this show today is part of the Square-based community.
We have. Yeah. You're right. My bad, guys. My bad. I'm getting big for my britches here. This is, by the way, almost certainly the moment before I experience critical failure. So I don't know how it's all gonna crumble or fall apart, but I'm just, anytime I get a little big for the old britches, something terrible is about to happen. Maybe the mountain will actually kill me.
You do have like if I was like, oh yeah, I really need some help, and I wasn't going to my normal people like Scrivo or someone else, right? If I was like, oh yeah, who can I rely on? I'm like, people who are reliable and amazing. Tech Dicky, Adam Camilleri, the Falcon. I'm like, yeah, I reckon they could solve many world problems as a 3.
Yes.
Yeah, before you go any further. So I think you're fine. Don't worry about it.
And
Don't
Rob.
stress.
And Rob. Like, yeah, so you guys are my you're my people. You're the wind beneath my wings. I could not soar to these great heights without standing on the shoulders of giants. Specifically a mountain. I need to stand on a mountain.
Okay.
You heard me, Steve. You heard me.
I'm gonna fucking kick his legs from under him so you can just stand on him. That's what I'm gonna do.
I want to ride on your shoulders, Steve. Around the. That's a lot of beef, guys. That's a lot of beef. I mean, he's mountainous, but I don't know if I could get cop a piggyback off him or not. We're if anyone, by the way, if anyone is interested, you can't buy him on BCP anymore because I wanted to make sure that people who had expressed interest were able to go. So I have gotten it into just sort of a wait list. You can reach me. I know this is going to be lame. You can find me actually at Discord, Val Heffelfinger. You can find me in the Honest Wargamer Discord. You can message me directly. You can get me on Facebook. There is an event on Facebook as well where I'll be communicating. And I'll also, any updates or important information will go right on the BCP event listing as well. It's the Square-based GT. Easy to find. So yeah, we're about to rock and roll. What kind of content? Like as we wind down, what kind of can we do like a list breakdown for you? We haven't even talked about vampire counts probably.
Yeah, I think it'd be fun to look at the list when we get closer to the time. We'll do a discussion on that. Like, I'm going to give you my hobby updates. I think I probably have to very seriously, if I'm not just borrowing an army, which is probably very highly likely, I think I probably should settle on an army now. And then I might look at the feasibility of producing an army myself.
You're bringing the lizard. You're bringing Big P.
Well, the only reason I say about doing an army myself is because then obviously that puts me in good stead for the actual old world.
Except they're not going to be bassed correctly.
Oh no! Are you enforcing old Bast?
Well, I mean, 8th edition kind of needs to. Honestly. So, like, the thing is, though. So this is where because again, I did the Vampire Counts army. They are based on the old bases, and the reason I don't care is that I will space them. Like I'll use movement trays to get that spacing.
Yeah. And
you can never go back to like older editions. Not that I think it'll matter once Old World's here. I think 8th edition will be a fond memory and people won't be needing to play it anymore. They'll just do the new thing. So like going forward, basing like I like, for example, I have high elves, I have wood elves, my dwarves. All of those guys, like those armies, I could totally see myself rebasing to 25s. I won't care. They're also pretty small. and also like my high elves and wood elves, they're not really built yet. Like they're still they're not really tabletop ready.
Mm-hmm.
So like, anything that like is an army that going forward from here, I'm making fresh and is like a core faction for old world that will 100% be on the new basis. But going backwards is tough. So yeah, it's just that is the way it is. But I got to rebase all my ogres for Adam, so he's got his ogres. And yeah. No, it doesn't. Bases don't really matter that much. What are you talking about, Dave Frazier? Yes, it does. I mean, does it matter enough that I'm going to say you can't play? Absolutely not. But like, like if you put witch elves on 25s in 8th edition, they're going to have, a wider frontage. They're going to have more people in well, I guess they'd have less people in combat. It would actually be a penalty and they'd be harder to wheel around. So bigger would only probably be a bad thing, right?
It's probably not a solution though that like works. It's just something that will have to be thought through.
Well, I'm just thinking like there is a potential, for example, that like, for example, Michael Grove, who's one of the coolest, most legit dudes that I've ever encountered playing Warhammer in Ontario. I used to see him 40K. He switched to AOS. He has never played Warhammer Fantasy ever, and he has signed up, and he is learning Warhammer Fantasy to come play in this event, which is so sick.
That's fun.
And but I think he offhandedly said like he'll just use like movement trays for his round based stuff. But I gotta think that through. I think for the most part, infantry on larger bases than they should be on doesn't really matter.
Well, I mean, only the movement tray matters, right? I'm not wrong in that regard. Like just
so you could also fudge it, right? Like you could abstract it. You could say, okay, there should be X amount of people in this front rank, but there's only 5 because they're on 25s instead of 6. Like you could do something like that. Yeah, for sure.
Like, as long as the movement tray, I think Warhammer Fantasy Battle and also Old World in the future, you have to use movement trays, and then anything that doesn't require you to use a movement tray is already like a base that you just got to put that thing on the right base, or that base has to be represented in the right way. So like movement trays are like the foundation of the game, and also make the game very easy to judge. Like unit fillers are a thing. Like you could legitimately you could be like
unit fillers all the way.
Yeah,
I love unit
fillers. I've got 28 Temple Guard in this unit. Right, it'd be like cool, like, but it's just a base and it's got a slan and then like 3 Temple Guard on it. That would still work just as well.
Just gonna throw this out there for the chief, best unit filler as a potential
show.
No, as a potential award, as a particular category.
Best unit filler. Send it out to the painting pro. I'll hit her up, see what she thinks.
Just because like this is a real event, swag. I kind of really want to get like I don't know, some like water bottles or something with some logos on it. So Rob, could you maybe make the logo so we don't have this on it? And also the trophies at the end. I think I'm gonna have to get pretty creative with 3D printing, and I think we're gonna need a square bass. We're gonna need a square bass trophy.
Oh, that's a great idea. That's a great idea for a trophy. One square bass, a bass that's a square.
I don't know, like, interpret that as we may. Any intrepid 3D designers out there who want to contribute to the event, a square bass. Is there a bass incorporated into the official podcast logo?
I refer you earlier to. Oh, so this is just a joke, is it? Statement.
That's what it was. Oh well, now it hurts my feelings.
No. That would be your response. Like that lives rent free. That lives rent free. And there's not much that lives rent free in me. Like I'm normally like very few things.
6 dice spells. 6 dice spells. Yes.
Yes. That's the only thing. Anyway, listen. Let's get this show on the road. It's been a pleasure, right? Yes. And I hope everyone in the chat has enjoyed it, as well as everyone listening to it as a podcast or listening to it on YouTube. If you do like it, like, subscribe, review, tell your Warhammer Fantasy based friends about the show, and let's make this the biggest show in all of Warhammer Fantasy Battles / the Old World. It seems like an easy goal.
I think we're crushing it. We're crushing
only people trying.
Well, we're not the only people. There was actually a new, not Electric Counts, Border Princes, new Border Princes podcast came out. We got name checked, actually, Rob.
No way.
We got name checked. in reference to what was he saying? He was like, Val and the Honest Wargamer, they talked about this dev diary for 90 minutes somehow.
We cut that short.
Yeah, we probably cut it off.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Anyway.
I hope you've enjoyed it. If you do like the show, like, subscribe. And as always, don't forget to stay square-based.